Today's lesson is going to be how to make these Mary Jane slippers. This front part of the slipper is easily adjustable by making it only a short piece. So let's get started and make a pair of slippers. Today's lesson is going to be how to make this really cool slipper. You can make these into a pair of Mary Jane style ones. All you have to do is not make this bit so long. It is adjustable to any size length. You start it at the toe and work your way to the back. These, like I said, can be made in any size. I've used 2 strands of yarn to make this one. It is only shaped like a foot because I've actually had this one on. So you're going to need 2 balls of yarn in your coloured choice, a button of your choice. I've just got 2 buttons that I've had laying around. You can make your buttonhole to adjust to the size of your button, so that's no problem. Doesn't matter what size button it is, obviously, as long as it's not too small. You can also adjust the height of the back of this one. If I made another pair, I would make them a little bit higher, because I'll show you what it looks like when it's on my foot. I think it could come up a little bit more onto the heel. It does stay on, but to keep your foot a little bit warmer, I think it should come up. So when we get to this part here in the pattern, I will show you how to make it a little bit higher if you wanted to. With this one, I folded it in half, so don't you just love my groovy socks? So with this one, you fold, when you've finished here, you fold it in half and then you start your stitches here. So I folded this in half. You could probably make 2 more stitches around here and that will make that higher in your foot. But yeah, we'll show you how we go when we start our pattern. So let's get started. We are going to need 2 strands of yarn, 2 buttons, a sewing needle for your yarn, crochet hook. I'm using a 6mm or a J or a size 10 with 2 strands of 8-ply and a pair of scissors. This pattern can be adjusted to suit any size foot. It could be used for a baby pattern too, probably. You would just need to use 1 strand of yarn at a time. Now I've got 2 strands of 8-ply. 1 strand is recommended to use a 4mm hook. So I've got 2, so I've doubled my thickness, but I'm not going to double the size of my yarn because I want my stitches to be, the size of my hook, because I do want my stitches to be tight. So I've got a 6mm hook. So what we want to do is chain 5. And then we're going to slip stitch into the beginning stitch, going into the stitch, yarning over, pulling through, and pulling through the other loop. We've now got a ring and we're going to be working into the centre. So chaining 1, we want to work 11 half double crochets into the middle. So I've yarned over, going into the middle, yarn over, pull up a loop. We have 3 on our hook, so you've got 6, but remember these count as 1, so that's actually 3 going through all 3. So it's yarning over, going into the loop, yarning over, pulling up a loop, yarning over and pulling through all 3 loops. And we're going to work into this ring until we have 11 half double crochets plus our starting chain, and altogether that will make 12 stitches. So I'm just going to speed up so I have 12. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. Let me just double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So what we're going to do is slip stitch into that first stitch. So we're going into there and slip stitching, and you can pull tight on your centre if you've worked over your yarns. If not, you can sew it together later. So now what we want to do is increase in each stitch, and we're going to chain up 1. Now I think you normally chain up 2 for a half double crochet, but I want this nice and tight, and I don't want this ugly little hole when we're working our way around. So what we're going to do is work 2 stitches in every stitch. So we want to go back into that same stitch where we have joined and work a half double, and it's quite tight, so it might be a bit of a pain for that first stitch. Haha, got it. So now in every stitch around, we're going to work 2 stitches. And when we work 2 stitches into the same stitch, it is also called an increase. Doesn't matter what stitch it is, it's still called an increase. Now you want your stitches nice and tight, and as you can see mine are nice and tight. You could also use a single crochet to make this project. So we're just going to work 2 in every stitch around. I will just leave the camera going because it won't take me long. If I have too many video clips that I have to combine, it will only combine 21 at a time, which is quite annoying. And that's why some of my videos are in parts, because I've had more than 21 video clips to combine. So you can either fast forward me, or you can just work along with me. Now you could use a double crochet stitch to make this, but it is going to make larger holes and toes are probably going to stick out. That's why I'm choosing this nice thick yarn, tight stitches with a small stitch. So at the end of this we should have 24 stitches. So it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22. I've lost count. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. And then you've got your, if you've got a couple of extra, hey, doesn't matter. So what we're going to do is slip stitch to the top of the stitch there. So how do we know if it's going to fit? What we need to do is get our foot and measure it. So let's do that now. So I hope you guys can see this okay. So I've got my disc here, and then what we want to do, see if I can get my foot into the light better. There we go. I'm trying to film this sort of in really bad light. It's starting to get dark. So, and plus I've got black socks on against a black backing. What can I put there? Hang on. Let's get this piece of paper. There we go, that's better, isn't it? So what you're going to do is put this on the tip of your foot. I can't see if I'm in the camera. Yes, we are. We're going to put it on the tip of our foot. Now, is it about as wide as our foot? So, this actually fits me because I've already made one. So if it's just about as wide as your foot is, because you're going to add another row, so it is going to come out, and this will stretch as well. So yes, that is. If it's not, I'll show you how to do another increase round. If it's okay, ignore the next increase round and then join up after we've done that. So yeah, that fits, and it is going to stretch. So when you've worn your slipper for a few days, it's going to stretch. So if you want to stretch it out a little bit, pull that back so it's nice and tight. See, it does get a little bit bigger. So I know that fits me. I'm a Australian, size 9, ladies 9. I am a UK 7. I'm not sure what that is in the US. I'm a Euro 40, but as you can see, I have quite narrow feet. So if you have broader feet, if you've got a broader fitting, you might need to make another increased row. So let's show you how to do that. So what we're going to do is chain one, and we chain one in every row. If you need to make some increases again, this is what you've got to do. So we're going to work a half double crochet in the next stitch. If you don't need to do an increased row, just ignore this row and then continue on. In the next stitch we're going to do an increase, so we're going to do 2 stitches into that 1 stitch. So that's 1 and 2. In the next one we're going to do 1. In the next stitch we're going to do 2. So this is basically the start of a beanie. Same pattern. So in that one we did 2, so in the next one we want to do 1. Next one we want to do 2, the next one we want to do 1. And you are going to continue in this pattern, so 1 in the one, 2 in the next, 1 in the next, 2 in the next. You're going to continue all the way around till you get back to the beginning and slip stitch to join. I don't need to do that because I have skinny little feet, which can be hard to buy shoes for, let me tell you that much. So now after you've got to the width that you need, then we're just going to do one half double crochet into every stitch around. So what will happen is, let's find my slipper that I prepared earlier. What will happen is, this is the top where we did our couple of rows. It's going to start to look like this. And as you go, I do suggest trying it on your foot. As you do a couple of rounds, say do 2 rounds, try it on your foot. Is it going to fit you? If it's not wide enough, you might have to pull it back out, those couple of rows, and make that other increased row. Because that's what I had to do with mine. So it is adjustable, but you just have to do a little bit of fitting at the beginning. But once you get this row to fit you right, once it goes over your toes, you're going to be fine. Because the next bit is just straight crocheting. So what you're going to do, we're going to do 1 stitch in each until it's long enough. So as you saw, this comes right up on my foot, right up around my, just pretty much to my instep, which is where your ankle starts. If you want the Mary Jane type, you don't have to make it as long. You can make it to about there. And then you can start this long part at the back here. So you just decide how long you want to make yours. You don't have to add this strap. We can do different types of things. We can add a ribbon around here. We can do all different types of straps and things. So make 1 stitch in each, which we have here, until you have the length that you desire. If you want it up to your instep, it's going to be quite long like that. If not, it's only going to be a short one like a Mary Jane. And also one more thing, what you want to do is note down how many rows you are making, because remember you've got to make another one and you want to make it exactly the same length. So just as you go, just write down how many rows you've done, and that will give you a good idea on what you've got to do on your next one. When you get to the end of your round, you are going to slip stitch to join. Then you're going to chain 1 and do 1 stitch in each, and continue this until you have your length. So once you've got your slipper part as long as you need it, like I said, you can make it shorter to make more of a Mary Jane style of slipper. But I'm going to go with the long style. So what we need to do to make this back part, so at the moment we have up to here made, and we're going to make this part here. And at the beginning of the video, how I said I wanted it a little bit further up my foot, I'll show you how to do that. So what I did for this one, I folded it in half, and then I crocheted from here to here, so just where the stitch markers will be put in on the sides. If you want it to come up a little bit further up your foot, I would count in a couple of stitches, so say maybe 2 stitches in, and then you want to crochet around the bigger part. So you don't want to crochet that part because this is the top of the slipper. You're going to start here and go around, and that's going to be the bottom of your slipper, and then come up on the sides. We do add 1 row of stitching around the opening at the end. I don't know if you can tell because it's all the same colour, but that is a row worked that way. These rows are worked that way. So you will gain a tiny little bit of height, but if you want it a bit higher, like I said, count in say 2 stitches so that it comes up a bit higher on your foot. But this one I'm going to have to make the same as the other one, of course. So to work it, what you need to do is you can put a stitch marker in on the edges. I'm not going to bother. I've folded it where I've stopped crocheting there. So I fold it in half, and then I'm going to go around to here. But if you're going to put your stitches up here a bit, you might want to put some stitch markers in. So what we want to do is, okay, I'll just put a stitch marker in, and then you can see how it works out, just in case I forget how far I'm supposed to be going. So I'm folding it where I've stopped stitching, and then this is the other end of where I'm going to put my stitch marker, my halfway point over the other side. But like I said, if you want it higher, you're going to come round a couple more stitches and place them up here somewhere. And I will actually do that if I make another pair of these, because I would like my next pair a lot further up on my foot. So what we're going to do is chain 1, and then we're going to half double crochet around to our stitch marker. So just going 1 in each stitch. Now I'm just going to go a little bit quick because you already know how to do your half double crochet. As soon as I get my yarn sorted, I'll be alright. So you're just going to go around until you come to your stitch marker. Everyone's going to have different stitches, of course, amount of stitches, because normally we've all got different size feet. So go into that one with the stitch marker, take it out. So I'm going into there. Then I want to chain 1, and now we're going to work back in the opposite direction. What we are going to do is create, if I can get it to sit properly, we're going to create the flap on the back. So this back part is going to be the bottom of our slipper. So going into not the first stitch because we've already got our chain 1. We are going into the next stitch, which is, what's that? So we're skipping that one, going into that one with a half double crochet, and we're going to go across until we reach our other side. Can you hear that squeaking noise? It's my awesome, I'll show you guys, we can have a look. It's just, I can't fit it all in the camera. It's got a point, you put your ball of wool on there and it spins around, but it sounds like a mouse on one of those little wheels that they have. I'll tell you what's so fabulous. It stops the yarn jumping around the room when you're trying to unravel it. Because some balls aren't centre pull and they make life a lot more difficult. Okay, so you're going around until you get to where you started here. But don't forget, we have to go into that chain 1 that's on the end, because that is actually our last stitch. You can chain 2 if you like, it's up to you. So chain 1 and turn, and we're just going to work this part going backwards and forwards until when you put your God, you put your foot in your slipper, that's what I'm trying to say. So you're going to put your foot in your slipper until this part here reaches at the back of your heel. That is where it's going to go to, and I'll show you what mine looks like as I've got this finished, and you'll know where to go to. It should be in the next clip. So what you want to do is put it onto your foot and see how it doesn't come past my heel, because this is all going to stretch. So what you need to do is pull on it a little bit, because our seam is going to be, this part is going to be sewn up at the end. So that is going to be your seam. So if it goes onto your foot like that, it means it's good. You don't want it too big because it's going to stretch, and once it stretches it's going to be too big. So just kind of stretch it up a bit, and if it fits, excellent. And then we're going to add one more row here when we go around the opening, so that's going to get a little bit higher. But see how I need to make it a little bit bigger next time? That's okay. They still fit me well. I'll make them like that for summer. So let's show you how to do up this seam. So what we're going to do, and this is a little bit tricky to work with, but you'll get it, don't worry. What you're going to do is you're going to fold it up in half. Then we're just going to spin it around so that we're looking at it like this. What we're going to do is we're going to half double crochet into the first stitch. So just do it, don't worry about your chain one, just half double crochet into that first stitch. And into the back stitch, this bit that's over here, we're going to slip stitch into that end stitch. So put your hook through the stitch, yarn over and pull through. And then we're going to work a half double crochet into the next stitch on the front bit. And then we're going to slip stitch into the back bit, but we've already slip stitched into here. See that stitch? You're going to go into that next one. Like I said, it's a bit fiddly. Into the back one, grab that yarn and pull through with the slip stitch. Half double crochet into the next. I mean, you could sew up this seam too if you like, but completely up to you. This is just another way to join. So going into the next stitch on the back with a slip stitch. And the closer you get to this end bit, the harder it's going to get. So half double crochet into there, slip stitch into the back, and that last one I find is just really hard. So what I do is just slip stitch through both. So go in through both and then just work a slip stitch. Work a chain one and then cut off your yarn. Pull through. We now have the back seam on our slipper, and that will mould to your foot once it's in there. So you need to sew in those ends here, but now we want to add one row around the opening, or you can add 2 or 3 or however many you like, but I'm just going to go with the one. So you can join your yarn anywhere in the opening that you like. Doesn't really matter. How about we just do it at the back, huh? Go in through any stitch at the back at the top, pull that yarn through, do a chain, pull down on the little ends, secure that in. I'm going to work over my tails. So we're going to work half double crochet around, and there's not really stitches to go into, so just sort of poke it in at an even spacing around. Oops, and I've lost one of my yarns there. So we're just going into the top, around the top of it there, trying to evenly space them out, because like I said, there's not really a clear stitch to go into, sort of wherever it fits. Working over our yarn so we don't have to sew it in later. Get out of a little bit hard this row because it's not really going into a stitch. There's that mouse wheel again. Okay, so then you're just going to trim these little bits off there after. Working your way around. And once you get to the bit across the top here, it's easy because there's actually stitches to go into. So there we go. You just want to work all the way around until we get back to the beginning at the back. Work as many rows as you like. Once you get back to the beginning, you're just going to slip stitch into that first stitch that we made. Then you're going to cut the yarn off, I finish mine off anything I'm doing like this, so you just do a chain and pull out the yarn and pull down. It secures that down. You need to sew in your ends. So you could even leave your slipper like that if you've got a long one like that. It's not really going to stay on though. So let's add a strap. So pick the spot that you want to put your strap. Mine has gone there. It's pretty much a couple of stitches back from the part there on the instep. So grab your yarn, put it over your hook and attach it. So with the chain, pull down at the back. Going to half double crochet in that stitch. You can use any stitch you like for this part. And I'm going to pick 3 stitches. That's 1, 2 and 3. I'm going to chain 2 this time, because when I did the chain one it was hard to find it. So that's 1 into that one, 1 into the next, chain 2 and turn and continue on until it's long enough. You're going to have to put it back on your foot, see if it's long enough to go over and attach it to here. So once we get to the end, you want to make a couple of chains depending on how big your button is. Then turn your work and slip stitch to the other side. And then you want to see if your button goes through the hole. Don't forget this hole is going to stretch out a bit as well. Oh, this is really hard with those nails. So yep, that fits through nicely. And now you just want to make a couple of half double crochets into there, into the hole that we've made just here for our button, and then slip stitch down into here, finish off, and you're done. Just want to sew on your button, sew in all your ends that you've got here, and we should have a slipper. So there we go, sew on your button and you've got a pair of Mary Jane slippers. Make sure when you make your second one that you make your strap on the opposite side.